The rain had started before sunset, turning the dusty street into a stretch of mud and reflections. Lanterns flickered in the wind, casting uneasy shadows across the wooden buildings. Inside the saloon, the storm felt distant, muted by laughter, clinking glasses, and the low murmur of men chasing luck. Cole Walker sat alone at the corner table, his head tilted low, a glass untouched in front of him. He wasn't turf for the drink. He was watching. The game in the back room had already drawn attention. Not just any game, this one had high stakes, and higher egos. 3 foreign traders had arrived days ago, dressed too well for a place like this, speaking in low tones and flashing gold like it meant nothing. People whispered about them, said they didn't lose, said they didn't play fair. Cole stood up quietly and made his way toward the back. The room smelled ticker, cigar smoke and tension. A handful of men circled the table, eyes locked on the growing pile of chips. The traders sat together, confident, their movements smooth and practiced. When Cole stepped forward, one of them looked up and smirked. "You play?" the man asked, his accent heavy but his meaning clear. Cole pulled out a chair and sat down without a word. The first few hands were small. Testing. Cole lost once, maybe twice. Enough to seem ordinary, enough to make them relax. He watched how they handled their cards, how their eyes flickered when they bluffed. One of them tapped his fingers when nervous. Another couldn't hold eye contact when he had nothing. Hours passed. The storm outside grew louder, but inside, the world had narrowed to the table. The stakes climbed. Money turned into gold. Gold turned into signed papers, land, livestock, future deals. The room grew quieter with each round. No one lied anymore. Cole hadn't said more than a few words the entire time. Then came the hand that shifted everything. One of the traders leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. He spoke to the others in a language most didn't understand. They nodded, something changed in their posture, less cautious now, more desperate. Reckless. They pushed everything forward, not just what was on the table. Cole's eyes narrowed slightly as the meaning became clear. A murmur spread through the room. Some men looked away, others leaned in, curious, uncomfortable, young. Cole didn't react right away. Instead, he studied them. "You hear about this?" someone in the crowd muttered. The trader waved it off. "All in," he said firmly. Silence. Cole finally reached for his cards. He didn't rush, didn't hesitate either. His fingers were steady, his face unreadable. For a brief moment, the thunder outside seemed to pause, as if when the storm was waiting. He placed his bet. The cards were revealed one by one. Gasps. A curse under Simon's breath. The tension snapped like a pulled rope. Cole had won. The traders stared at the table, disbelief turning quickly into anger. One of them slammed his fist down, another stood up abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. But it didn't change the outcome. The room knew it, the dealer knew it. Cole didn't smile, didn't celebrate. He just looked at them, then at the table, and finally toward the door behind the room. That is when he noticed them for the first time. 3 figures, barely visible in the dim light. Still, silent, watching. Something about their presence didn't fit with the rest of the night. And in that moment, Cole realized, this wasn't just a game he had won. It was something far more complicated. The storm had passed by morning, but the weight of the night still lingered in the air. The town felt quieter, as if something unspoken had settled over it. People watched Cole differently now, not with curiosity, but with a kind of caution. Respect. Inside the saloon, the back room was nearly empty. The poker table had been cleared, the cards put away, but the memory of what happened there still hung heavy. Cole stood near the window, staring out at the muddy street. Behind him, the 3 traders argued in hushed, urgent voices. Their confidence from the night before had cracked, replaced with frustration and something darker. "You don't understand what you've taken," one of them said sharply. Cole didn't turn around. "I understand enough." The man stepped closer. "They are not yours. That made call finally fast him. His expression was calm, but his eyes carried a quiet warning. They were never yours to wager. The room fell silent. For a moment, it looked like things might turn violent. One of the traders clenched his jaw, his hand twitching near his coat. But even he seemed to realize, this wasn't a fight he could win here. Not in this town, not after last night, with a final glare, they backed off. Not defeated, but not in control anymore either. Cole didn't wait. He walked past them and toward the back door. The three young women were still there. In daylight, they looked even more out of place, tired, guarded, uncertain of what came next. May stood slightly ahead of the others, her posture steady despite the fear in her eyes. Leanne stayed close behind her, observant, calculating. She lingered near the wall, quiet and withdrawn, as if trying to disappear. Cole stopped a few steps away, giving them space. "You're free to go," he said simply. They didn't move. May frowned slightly, as if he hadn't understood. Or maybe he had, and didn't believe it. No conditions, Cole added. No depth, no one WNSU. A long silence followed. Leanne exchanged a look with May, whispering something under her breath. She kept her eyes lowered, but her fingers tightened around the edge of her sleeve. "Oui," May finally asked. It was a simple question, but not an easy one. Cole paused. He wasn't a man used to explaining himself. "Because it is the right thing," he said after a moment. That didn't seem to satisfy them, but it was enough to shift something. Still, freedom wasn't as simple as opening a door. Outside, the town wasn't keen to strangers, especially ones without money, connections, or protection. Word had already begun to spread, and not everyone approved of what Cole had done. Some saw it as honorable, others saw it as weaknesses, or opportunity. By midi, whispers had turned into stars. A group of men lingered near the edge of the street, watching to closely. One of them muttered something crude as the woman passed by. Another lied. Cole noticed. He stepped in without a word, positioning himself between them and the others. His presence alone was enough, for now. The men backed off, but their eyes followed. May said, "Freedom here is not safe," he said quietly. Cole didn't argue. That night, he made a decision. At dawn, they would leave. The journey wasn't easy. They traveled light, just what they could carry. The land stretched wide and empty, far from the noise of the town. Hills rolled into open fields, and the air felt different, cleaner, quieter. But the silence brought its own tension. The women kept their distance from Cole at first. They spoke softly among themselves, of his intentions. Every act of kindness was met with caution. Every offer of help, with hesitation. He didn't push. He let them set the pace. On the third day, they reached it, a piece of land untouched by fences or claims. A small rise overlooking a valley, with a narrow stream cutting through the grasses. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Cole sat down his back and looked around. "This is as far as I go," he said. The words hung in the air. Leanne frowned. "You're leaving," Cole nodded. "You'll be safer here than in town. No one will bother you." "That is not true," May said. "Someone always comes." Cole met her gaze. "Then you'll be ready when they do." For a moment, it seemed like that would be the end of it. But then she spoke, for the first time since Tate left. "Stay," she said softly. It wasn't a demand, barely even a request, but it changed everything. Cole looked at her, surprised. Then at the others. May didn't speak, but he didn't object either. Leanne crossed her arms, studying him carefully. "You don't trust him," Cole said. "No," Leanne replied honestly. Cole gave a faint nod. "Fair enough." He picked up a piece of wood lying nearby and drove it into the ground, marking a spot. "Then learn it," he said. And with that, he began to build. The first structure was barely more than a frame, 4 posts, a rough roof, and canvas stretched tight against the wind. It wasn't meant to last. Just enough to sleep without the cold biting through the night. But it was a beginning. The days settled into a rhythm. Cole worked from sunrise to dusk, cutting timber, shaping beams, hauling water from the stream. He spoke little, focusing on the work as if it were the only thing that mattered. At first, the three women kept their distance. They watched, measured, waited. May was the first to step forward. On the fourth morning, SH appeared beside him with a bundle of seeds and a determined look. Without asking, SH began clearing a patch of land near the water. The soil was stubborn, packed tight, but SH worked patiently, breaking it apart with steady hands. Cole noticed, but said nothing. By the end of the day, he had quietly adjusted the position of the fence line to give her more space. Leanne joined next, though not in the way Onion expected. SH didn't pick up towels right away. Instead, SH walked the perimeter of the land, studying it like a map. SH noted where the ground dipped, where the wind hit hardest, where shadows stretched longest in the afternoon. A few days later, SH approached Cole while he was reinforcing the frame of the house. The structure won't hold in strong wind, SH said bluntly. Cole glanced at her. It'll hold, not through winter. A pause. Then, without argument, he handed her a piece of charcoal. Show 'em. That was the moment something shifted. They began to work together, not as strangers forced into the same place, but as people building something shared. Leanne sketched adjustments, and Cole followed them, strengthening the foundation, changing the angle of the roof. The house grew sturdier, smarter. She remained the quietest. SH stayed close to the shelter at first, speaking little, moving even less. But SH watched everything. Every motion, every choice. And one evening, when the sun dipped low and the sky burned orange, SH stepped forward with a small bundle of fabric. It was worn, carefully folded. Without a word, SH began stitching. At first, no one understood what SH was making. But over the next few days, it took shape: curtains for the windows, soft coverings for the rough wooden benches, small touches that turned the structure into something warmer. Something human. By the time the first real walls went up, it no longer felt like a temporary stop. It felt like a home in the making. Trust, however, comes slow. One night, a distant sound broke the quiet, a horse, moving fast. Cole was already awake before it reached them. He stepped outside, hand resting near his holster, eyes scanning the darknesses. The hours followed, tense, silent. The memory of the town, and the men they had left behind, hadn't faded. A rider appeared at the edge of the hill, then stopped. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the rider turned and disappeared into the night. No confrontation, no words, just a reminder. They found us, Leanne said quietly. Maybe, Cole replied. Maybe not, but no one truly believed it was coincidence. The next day, the work changed. Cole began teaching them how to handle a rifle. Not just how to shoot, but how to hold it, how to breathe, how to stay calm. May struggled at first, frustrated by the recoil. Leanne learned quickly, precise and focused. She hesitated, but didn't refuse. They took turns practicing, the sharp creaks echoing across the valley. It wasn't about violence. It was about not being helpless. Days turned into weeks. The house grew stronger, solid walls, a proper roof, a door that closed against the wind. May's garden began to show life, small green shoots pushing through the earth. Leanne marked out paths and boundaries, driving sharp to the land. Shoes quiet touches filled the spaces in between. And Cole, he stayed, not because he had to, but because, somewhere along the way, living had stopped being an option. One evening, as they sat outside beneath a sky full of stars, something unexpected happened. They lied, not out of relief, not out of politeness, but genuinely. It was brief, soft, almost fragile, but it was real. And in that moment, the past felt a little farther away. Whatever was coming next, they would face it together.